But I remain committed to the United Kingdom leaving.
Since I became Prime Minister, I've said we must get on and get Brexit done on October the 31st so that this country can move on.
Sir, my amendment is that Mr. President should be invited to come and explain the situation.
For the Nigerian government to stop killing its people and
Welcome to yet another exciting edition of Atlantic Sports Extraordinary. On this special edition, I can tell you because it's just a couple of minutes away from the 32nd Olympic Games that is ongoing at Tokyo, Japan. It promises to be very, very exciting. Like I said, just a couple of minutes away, and on the show here, we'll bring you a lot of tidbits around the Olympic Games. And from that, we'll bring you some football stories as well. There's a couple of transfers in Europe. The program promises to be very, very exciting when we return back from this very short break. Welcome back, and it is the day a lot of people, billions of people around the world have been looking forward to the beginning official opening ceremony of the Olympic Games, and it's just about 10 minutes away from now. But before the Olympic got started, we've had a couple of games in the last 24 hours. We'll bring you results of some of those matches and events that are taking place at the Olympic Games. But I have with me on this day to look at all of that and to be as incisive as ever, Mary J, who is our in-house sports analyst.
It's good to be here. Just a few moments till we officially kick off in Tokyo, the start of the 2020, which is holding in 2021 Olympic Games. We're really excited about it. I look forward to seeing the rich culture of the Japanese as well as the other nations participating.
Well, talking about the Japanese and others that are participating, our focus, of course, will be on Nigeria. It is a global event, and so we'll veer from Africa as well, look at what is happening around the other teams around the world. But Nigeria has been in action in our very first event for the 2020 Tokyo Olympic Games. At 1:30 a.m. this morning, we saw Nigeria's first event, which is in the rowing, and Esther Tuko finished 5th out of 6 contestants in Heat 1. What does this mean to Team Nigeria?
Yeah, finally, Team Nigeria got in on the action. The action we know began as early as Wednesday morning when we started seeing action from softball, and then it was followed by some football in action in the women's game. We also saw football in the men's game as well. Finally, Nigeria was on parade. The green, white, green of Nigeria was on parade. Esther, the 21-year-old Esther Toko. The unique thing about these Olympic Games is because it's in Asia, because it's in Japan, for most of the event, if you want to keep up with what the Nigerians and how well they're performing, you have to stay up late. This one happened by 1:30 a.m. this morning, so you have to stay up late to watch our Nigerian athletes perform. She finished 5th out of 6 participants. On paper, it is not the most impressive result. It's not what we wanted, not how we envisaged starting the Olympic Games, but it is not all doom and gloom for her because she still has the opportunity to qualify. The top 3 qualify automatically for the quarterfinals in the women's rowing. It's called the sculls event, the single sculls event. The top 3 qualify for the quarterfinals, and then the best placed finishers behind those top 3 get a chance to qualify to reach the quarterfinals as well in what is called a repechage. A repechage is where the athletes who do not make up the time expected in the top 3 have the opportunity to qualify for the
talking about repechage, you've seen a situation where there will be 4 contestants in there, and the top 2 will qualify. She came 5th in the heat, and she will have to compete alongside. She will have to row alongside 3 other contestants. Do you see her coming within the first 2 in a group of 4?
If you compare the numbers, the time that she finished with and you compare the time that the other 4 contestants finished with, is not very far apart, just a couple of seconds between them. If she can improve on her performance, she can make it to the quarterfinals. She can finish amongst the top 2. We believe that she has all the preparation that she could get. She has prepared really well for this one. So going in the first race, the top 3 were seasoned rowers, if I put it like that. There are people that have been to the Olympics multiple times. This is just her first Olympic Games, and she's just 21. There are people that have won medals in world championships, so you can give her a bit of excuse for that. But in the repechage, where we'll see tomorrow, she will be coming up against rowers of similar strength, similar qualities, and the time difference between them is not far off. As a matter of fact, she bests one of them when it comes to the time. So hopefully, out of four, she will finish in the top 2 and make the quarterfinals.
We're looking forward to its excellent performance in rowing, and of course, Toko have begun to take Nigeria to further steps. We've never won a medal in rowing before, but she's now qualified for what looks like a step to the quarterfinals, and from there, anything could happen. Team Nigeria, in her very first event at Tokyo 20 Olympic Games, we told you that it has been the rowing event. I'm still looking at how Nigeria has gotten on the score on the event list at one of the venues at the Olympic Games at Tokyo, Japan. We've seen a situation where tennis will be up next. We understand that Funke Oshinake will be taking on Liu Juan of the United States of America in the table tennis event.
Funke Oshinake, the stalwart, one of the veterans when it comes to sports in Nigeria, not just table tennis now, sports generally. I don't think there has been anyone in Nigeria that has been to 7 different Olympic Games tournaments. She will be participating in Tokyo, her 7th Olympic Games tournament. She comes with a lot of experience, and she comes with a lot of skill, talent as well. She has good quality about her. This is just round 1 in the table tennis event, and we should expect for somebody that has exposed, for somebody as well traveled, and a very good competitor, talking about Funke Oshinake, we should expect her to scale through. She's playing against the American, should I say American Chinese, because it's dual citizenship. Right? It should be a good one. We know that the Chinese are formidable when it comes to table tennis, or like they call it ping pong. But Funke Oshinake should scale through. This is just round 1. She should scale through.
Well, if you are in Tokyo, Japan, of course, or you're looking forward to it on table 2 from about 1 a.m. Nigerian time, we will be seeing that match between Oshinake and Liu of the United States of America. Still looking at Nigeria's participation at the Olympic Games and the events for which they have started taking part. Offiong and them will join the fray in the women's single round 1, playing in match number 21 on table 3, and that will be like 12:15 p.m. Nigerian time at the same venue. And then we'll take on Hungary's Dora Madarat, and it looks interesting. A couple of minutes from now. Dora is quite a talented table tennis. Now, talking about the Hungarian opponents who Offiong will be facing. So Offiong has to be on her best performance. We know that she's a good table tennis player. A lot of people have tipped her to be the successor to Funke Oshinake when she finally bows out, when she finally calls it time on her career. But she has proven herself on the national scene. She has proven herself to an extent on the African scene. Now it is time to take it to the world stage. Can she be able to do that? We hope that she is able to do that. Like I said before, this is just round 1, so no medals up for grabs yet, but this is what determines whether you finish in the medal places. So
hopefully she will put on her A game. On her good day, she should be able to defeat her Hungarian opponent. But then Hungarian opponent is also quite very good on the table.
Nigeria with a lot of contingent in the table tennis event at the Tokyo Olympic Games. Olajide Omotayo will be in action against Portugal's Thiago Apollonia. Apollonia from almost like 2 p.m. Nigerian time, quarter to 2 p.m. Nigerian time, and the event will be taking place just at the same venue as well.
Yes, Omotayo has progressed. He has grown from being an unknown tennis player in Lagos to being a known player at the sports festivals here in Nigeria, to competing also on the African scene, and also having that appearance at the Commonwealth Games. Omotayo he's a fantastic player. He will be playing against the Portuguese. The Portuguese is, when we talk about table tennis, you don't usually talk about Europeans because it's more of an Asian game, Southeast Asia and all of that. But this particular opponent is one that has competed in the European Championships and is competed well. Coming to the Olympic Games, we hope Omotayo has enough in his tank to go through the first round and get a reasonable win. He should be aiming for a win. He has what it takes to go ahead and get us that win.
Well, we'll bring you the daily reports on Nigeria's participation at the Tokyo Olympic Games. And those are the features for today. Will be more in action for the Olympic Games. I'm sure by tomorrow, that will be the most celebrated and known Nigerian tennis player, even across Africa, will be on showcase, talking about Aruna Kodari. But we hope to bring you details of his participation tomorrow on our program Sports Extraordinary. And of course, it's the D time, or it is now the beginning of the 2020 Tokyo Olympic Games official opening ceremony. It is just gotten underway. And one interesting thing about this opening ceremony for the whole world will be the fact that you see Greece, maybe for reasons of technical issues, will not be able to get you that picture of the opening ceremony that just got underway now. But for me, it's cheering to see that after Greece, which is the home country of the Olympics, in front in marching. The next country, in quotes, that will be marching behind Greece at this Olympic Games, which just got underway officially right now at the Tokyo National Stadium, is the team from the refugee team. We are here, 29 members of that team will all be marching. Oftentimes, we don't see where all the entire contingent marches, during the official opening ceremony. But the refugee team, all 29 athletes that are part of that team, will be on showcase. They'll be marching just behind Greece and under the Olympic flag.
The team of the world, if you ask me.
Yes.
It's a team that carries all the emotions from different parts of the world. It's a team that's made up of Africans, of Europeans, of Asians as well. So it's a team of the world, if I put it like that.
They are actually representing 82 million refugees around the world. This team will represent 82 million refugees around the world.
When you think about that, 82 million displaced people, 82 million who don't have a home, 82 million who are caught in the middle of state lines, it's disheartening, but it's cheering on the other hand to see that they are giving this message of hope to the entire world through the Olympic Games, and that's why the Olympic Games and sports in general is very important to the entire world. The Olympic Games is.
You look at the beauty of the Tokyo, National Stadium. This stadium was, the last time. Tokyo had the Olympic Games. This is a brand new stadium that has been built for the Olympic Games. It's 100% brand new that was built, and it's a marvel to watch on your screen there. We hope we can find time and get you how the match pass is going on, but that is the venue of the 2020 Tokyo Olympic Games.
Quite an empty venue. We know that spectators are not allowed. Otherwise, this place will be filled to its brim. Spectators not allowed, but nonetheless, the Olympic Games opening ceremony has kicked off in Japan, and it promises to be a good sight. Japan are people with rich cultural heritage. A lot of their culture will be in display. We saw when they hosted the World Cup alongside South Korea. The opening ceremony was fantastic. We also saw what China did in 2008 with the Beijing Games. This one will not be any different, but for the absence of supporters at the stadium in the main bowl, we will not see a lot of spectators. Just under 1,000 people allowed in the stadium. That's comprising of the athletes and officials, of course. But going back to the refugee team, immediately after the Greek team, who are the traditional founders of the Olympic Games, we will have the refugee team, which carries the burdens of nations, of continents all across the world.
Yeah, talking about
under the Olympic
teams,
flag.
Yes, they had issues initially at Qatar where they had a training camp. One of the officials was suspected to have had COVID-19, but after all said and done, they had arrived yesterday at Tokyo, Japan, and it looks now that of the 29, 6 of them had been in the debut refugee appearance at the Olympic Games. 6 of them have been part of it, while the other 23, are making their first-time appearance. And they represent, like you mentioned, a couple of African countries: the Congo Democratic Republic. They represent Iran. They represent Afghanistan. 82 million refugees around the world are being represented by these 29.
So it's a message of hope. It's the Olympics using its platform to tell all the 82 million or over 82 million refugees all over the world.
People from Syria, South Sudan,
Eritrea as well.
Eritrea, right?
It's a message to over 82 million refugees all over the world that all hope is not lost. You're a refugee. You've been dealt with crisis, and you're escaping war and hunger and poverty and all of that. But all hope is not lost. There is still a place for you in society. Oftentimes before now, we do not see athletes from refugee camps come to represent at the Olympic Games because they do not have a nation, they don't have a country. And that's why the IOC has lent the refugees their flag, saying, if you don't have a place elsewhere, you have a place with the Olympic, with the IOC, you have a place in sport. And that's a very strong message from the IOC.
Talking about a place, yes, you have a place, and for them, the refugees, it is about participation. They don't really project results or looking forward to winning medals. The most important thing for these refugees is participation.
That's it's in line with what the Charter of the Olympics.
What a beauty to behold! I can see pictures of the Tokyo National Stadium. Like I said, it's a brand new stadium that was rebuilt. Last time Tokyo hosted the Olympic Games, way back in 1968 or so, they built a stadium for it, and in 2020 they have to build another stadium for this, and in fact at the venue of the previous stadium.
We know about how
they had
good,
to pull down that other stadium and they put this one up.
We know how good the Japanese are when it comes to technology and engineering, so they've put this one, and it's a masterpiece. Everybody at the Olympic Games, everybody that has the opportunity to be in that stadium, I'm sure they will have that, there will be testament to it as well. It's quite a masterpiece. It's a huge edifice. It costs quite a lot of money, but then it's worth it. When you see the images on your TV screens, you know that it's a villa. It's a big monument, and I think it's going to last for years to come. Now, talking about the refugees at the Olympic Games, you have said it's for them, it's all about participation, just giving them that opportunity to participate amongst their fellow athletes. They've been, most of these people, they've been athletes before escaping either war or conflicts from their countries, and they just want that opportunity to participate. The Olympics, the IOC is all about fairness, giving everybody an equal chance, and these refugees have been given an equal chance, 29 of them in number, and they will be carrying the flag and carrying the hopes of the over 82 million all over the world.
We look forward to some kind of spectacular performance. Yes, they delight in participating, but it will be even more delightful where they win medals at the Tokyo 2020 Olympic Games. The refugees will be participating in 12 sports, and we hope that of the 12, they might just return medal in a couple of events there. Meanwhile, with the African contingent at the Games with 6 players from Kenya, women's rugby 7th team are expected to come out of a 14-day quarantine in time for their match against New Zealand.
It was a COVID scare, another COVID scare, and they thought they wouldn't participate because, like in the case of the refugees, it was a race against time. If you don't recover on time, if you don't return those multiple negative tests on time, you don't get to participate at the Olympic Games. Luckily for the Kenyans, they have returned multiple negative results.
It's not about the Kenyans themselves. This is about a passenger that was on board the aircraft and that is suspected to have the COVID-19, and so it was pure precaution.
Just as in the case of the Team Great Britain, that was also on a flight with a COVID positive case. we know how the coronavirus spreads. Once you're in the same vicinity with someone who has tested positive, you have to be put under scrutiny, you have to be monitored in solitary isolation. And it was the case for the Kenyan team. None of them tested positive initially, but they still had to be monitored for the mandatory 14-day quarantine in Japan. Thankfully, none of them produced or returned a positive test. They all returned multiple negative tests, and they've been given the all clear to participate at the games. The only thing now is for them to get themselves in shape on time, because for the period where they've been in quarantine, they've had no contact with each other. They've been in separate rooms, quarantining in Tokyo, and they've not had the opportunity to train. They've not had the opportunity to train as individuals and as a team. Hopefully they can do that in the next couple of days before their game comes up.
Team Kenya arrived in Japan early to acclimatize in the city of Kurume, prior to moving into the Athletes Village earlier this week. And I think that's the beauty about arriving early. If you have any issues with the COVID-19, you have enough time to enter into quarantine that lasts for about 14 days. Thereon, go on to meet up with your events. But and in a sweet turn of events, the West African country of Guinea, remember we talked about them yesterday, calling off their participation at the Olympic Games. But now we understand that delegation would definitely, talking about the Guinean delegation, would definitely be part of the Olympic Games that's underway right now in Tokyo.
When the news broke, I laughed over it, because when we saw that the Guineans were withdrawing their athletes of about just 5 in number from the Olympic Games, it sounded like there was more to it. They cited fears surrounding the COVID-19, but then it felt like there was more to it. And we've not gotten any positive, we've not gotten any news of the coronavirus infections at the Olympic Games abating, but then they've come again to tell us just in less than 24 hours.
This is a delegation of just about 5.
Just about 5 athletes.
But they had their certain issues of about finance as one of the reasons why they thought they had to come back. But the minister has come out, the Minister of Sports, Balama So, has come out to say that yes, definitely they will be part of it, and that funds have been made available for the trip to Tokyo.
A good thing for the athletes. They've been practicing, they've been training for years to be at the Olympic Games, and it's a good thing that the government of Guinea have made this U-turn to allow these athletes to participate. So most of the time we see athletes suffer for, should I say, incompetence of government, of organizations and officials. Thankfully, these 5 athletes were primed for that, but thankfully for them, the government has made a U-turn. They've seen reason why these athletes should be at the Tokyo Olympic Games, and they've gone forward with it.
Talking about Guinea, they have been to the Olympic Games 11 times, and they've never, they returned with any medal. 5 athletes this time representing the country of Guinea. Do you think any of these 5 can make history?
To answer it very bluntly, I don't think they will. I don't think they will.
Well, still looking around tidbits for you on the Olympic Games. We told you it started already. Official opening ceremony is right now going on. South Korea is one country as well. North Korea is one of the countries that would not be going to the Olympic Games because of COVID-19 again.
That's what they said. They said because of COVID-19, but we know that when North Korea are not on the best in terms of political relations with Japan and the other Asian countries. So maybe there could be something behind the scenes. But they've cited COVID-19, which is the most popular or most used excuse right now. If you don't want to participate in any event, just say you're scared of COVID-19, and then everybody gives you a pass, because it is actually happening. It's the reality of things. COVID-19 is very dangerous, and people don't want to get infected. North Korea will not be there. But so far, after this U-turn from Guinea, North Korea remains the only nation that will not take part at the Olympic Games, who have withdrawn from the Olympic Games.
Well, North Korea has withdrawn from the Olympic Games. Let's stay away from this. We'll still bring you a couple of tidbits as they break on the program before we wrap it up. But for now, let's look at some of the results of that took place yesterday at the Tokyo Olympic Games. Like we told you, the official opening ceremony is ongoing, which started just about 10 minutes or so ago. But there had events that have started in the last 48 hours. In the men's football of yesterday, we saw Everton striker Richarlison score a first-half hat-trick as Brazil men began their Olympic campaign with a 4-2 victory over Germany. This one is becoming the first ever Premier League player to score a hat-trick. The
first ever Premier League player to score a hat-trick at the Olympic Games. And the scoreline was even more, should I say, exciting, not very exciting for Germany and for supporters of German football, because they got beaten again by the same team that beat them the last time at the Olympics. It was a case of revenge being on the cards. Remember, we talked in the women's football where we saw Sweden play against the United States, and the United States were hoping for a revenge. But unfortunately for them, it was Sweden who got the revenge of being beaten 2-0 in the FIFA World Cup against the United States, defeating the United States by 3-0. Now we've seen the same thing here. The last time these two teams met at the Olympic Games, it was Brazil who beat Germany to win gold at the Olympic Games. This time around, they are meeting in the group stage, and Germany were hoping for some sort of revenge, but it was far from the result. 4-2 in favor of Brazil, and a first-half hat-trick for Richarlison, sealing things up very early in the game. Richarlison is a quality player. We know him from his time at Everton, one of the best players in the team. He's shown it at the Copa America also with Brazil, one of the best players in that squad, just slightly behind Neymar in terms of performance at the Copa America, and he's carried that form into the Tokyo Olympic Games. Hopefully they can replicate their form from Brazil in 2016 and go all the way, maybe to win it or reach the later stages of the competition this time around.
Well, talking about results of matches of fixtures or at events at the Tokyo Olympic Games yesterday, AC Milan midfielder Franck Kessié scored in Ivory Coast 2-1 win over Saudi Arabia. Some of either overage players or very young player in the competition.
Yeah, one of the experienced, should I say more experienced player, because he's over the age of 23. We know the FIFA rules concerning the men's football at the Olympic Games. It's actually an under-23 tournament, meaning it's only players on the age or below the age of 23 are eligible, but teams are allowed to bring in a maximum of 3 overage players. They've brought in Franck Kessié, and that has proved like a good decision for the Ivorians, because he was the one that actually got that winning goal against Saudi Arabia. In the early minutes of the game, Ivory Coast went ahead. They actually played better than their Saudi Arabian counterparts. They went ahead courtesy of an own goal. Saudi Arabia found their way back into the game, but Franck Kessié's goal close to the 70th minute mark was enough for Ivory Coast to grab their first win of the tournament, and also Africa's first win at the tournament, or should I say Africa's only win at the tournament so far.
Talking about Africa's win at the tournament coming there, but let's see, Spain equally had some kind of disappointing result, but it was against Egypt, disappointing to Spain, and of course satisfactory to Egypt. It ended goalless.
Disappointing to Spain, and like you said rightly, satisfactory to Egypt, and delightful for each and every one of us Africans. That game was a game we expected Spain to assert their dominance. Remember, they are a star-studded squad. We saw the Barcelona midfielder, the 18-year-old Barcelona midfielder Pedri, who was adjudged to be the best young player at the Euro 2020 Championship. And when you look at it, indeed, there were a lot of young players, good young players, fantastic young players at the Euro 2020. He came out on top as the best young player at the tournament. The Spanish side also featured the likes of Marco Asensio. You remember him from Real Madrid. He's won the Champions League multiple times with Real Madrid. It also featured Dani Ceballos, who is also a Real Madrid player that played for Arsenal a couple of years back. So they were a star-studded side, very good in quality and also in experience on the big stage. They play for some of the biggest teams. Coming up against the Egyptians, we thought it was going to be Spain all the way, but the Egyptians were able to hold their own to get that all-important 1 point and a clean sheet against powerhouses Spain.
Spain, not getting it in the first call, but let's hope that the other matches they might just get it, because like we said, we've seen the Spanish side parade 6 players that were at the Euro 2020. While do I say Spain will rue their loss of 2 points? France completely lost all 3 points in their first match because they were trashed by Mexico by 4-1. Disastrous start for France without Paul Pogba and the other known stars.
Disastrous and very shocking. When you see a football fixture and you see France and Mexico, yes, you think it's going to be tightly contested. Yes, you think it's going to be a tough one, because Mexico are no pushovers when it comes to football. They are about the best team when it comes to representation from the North America. We expected it to be a close one, and most people would have expected France coming up tops at the end of the day. But unfortunately for France, it was a rude awakening. Just like the United States were handed in the women's game, it was a rude awakening for France. 4-1 against Mexico. It's a shambolic result. It's a disappointing result for the French, no doubt. And when you think about the quality that they have in their team, a lot of youngsters in the team, we know that a lot of their overage players could not participate because they just recently finished from the Euro 2020 and opted not to play at the Olympic Games. But in the midst of the young stars we have in the French contingent, we have some of these young stars playing for big teams, the likes of the top teams in France, Marseille, Lyon, and some of them even playing for the PSG setup. They have a couple of overage players as well. André Pierre Gignac, we know he was brought from holiday to participate in the team. He was able to get that solitary goal for them, but that was just about it for France. A disappointing performance. Hopefully they can get on ahead with the next fixtures against Japan and South Africa.
Talking about Japan, they are the host country, and they had a 1-0 win over South Africa. And we've known the Asians, and especially Japan, to be very strong in underage competition.
It's a good win for Japan, and I will also say it's a good performance by South Africa, despite losing. We know they have been hit with a lot of struggles. They've had a lot of setbacks going forward into the Olympic Games. 3 players were dropped from the team because of health issues bordering around coronavirus. Just a couple of days before the start of the games, 2 other players were also dropped from the team because of coronavirus, and that depleted their squad a lot. It took a lot of the quality out of the South African team. Ordinarily, with the inclusion of those 5 players, we would have seen a better performance. I believe we would have seen a better performance from the South Africans, because we know they're quite a good side on the African continent, and for them to weather all that storm and to pick themselves up and to compose themselves and play against the host of the tournament, who will be favourites in the game, no less, and just lose by, we know it's a loss, 3 points loss, but then it was just a 1-0 loss. Considering all the circumstances, I think that they did well for themselves, and I just hope that they can progress with some positive results going forward.
After they won, at the football event at the Olympic Games, we've seemed to see, established players or experienced players, leading the lines for their respective countries. For Japan, we saw Takefusa Kubo score the only goal of the game in the second half, and this is a Real Madrid player. He's
a player that he plays for Real Madrid, and his transfer to Real Madrid was something that made news. So that tells you of the quality that the young man has. He's been on loan away from Real Madrid a couple of times, but he's back with the Real Madrid team. And for you to play, whoever plays for Real Madrid, because Real Madrid is one of the, if not the biggest football club in the entire world, in terms of history, in terms of laurels, and in terms of the stature of the club. If you play for Real Madrid, you know that there is some good quality about you. That's the quality that Takefusa Kubo showed yesterday, and that was the difference between Japan and South Africa.
And there's some history being made here. New Zealand made their history with their first ever win in men's football at the Olympics. 1-0 win over South Korea.
They've played a couple of times at the Olympic Games. They've never won a single game. They won, thankfully for them, at the first time of asking in Tokyo 2020, we saw their victory against South Korea. South Korea are neighbors, natural neighbors geographically to Japan, but the close proximity did not matter, because the New Zealanders came with a mission. They came on a mission and they achieved that. We've talked about records falling at the Tokyo 2020 Olympic Games, and it seems that we could see many more records fall, because right from the very first start of the Olympic Games, the record started to fall. It's continued, and this time it favored New Zealand. They've never had a win. Thankfully for them, they've got that win against South Korea.
And of course, in the final result, we'll bring it for you on the fixtures of yesterday at the Olympic Games. Argentina suffered, some kind of humiliation, because Australia beat them by 2-0.
Contrasting the turn of fortunes when you consider the fact that they just won the Copa America, the senior men's national team just won the Copa America. You think that they are favourites against Australia, and indeed on paper, when you see a football fixture between Australia and Argentina, no matter what age category, Argentina are usually tipped as the favourites, because they have a lot of quality in their team. We know how the South Americans play their football, very enticing, very beautiful football to watch. But on the night, it was the Australians, who I think are a growing nation in football, both in the men's senior national team. They're not easy to beat, and they showed that quality against Argentina, beating Argentina by not just 1 goal, but 2-0.
Well, Argentina, we know them as a football playing nation. We see how that can pan out. They've had they've come to very far stages at the under-23 level at the Olympic Games, and I'm very sure if you are Nigerian, you'll be thinking of that match where Kanu Nwankwo and his gang beat Argentina and Brazil, of course, to winning that Atlanta 96 gold medal in football. It's Atlantis Sports Extraordinary here, and of course we'll be back after a very short break to bring you more developments around the Tokyo Olympic Games, that the official ceremony is currently going on. Official opening ceremony. In the other news, South Korea women's archers took the top 3 places in qualification on Friday, with one breaking an Olympic record that stood for 25 years. Wow. It looks very interesting, because the team takes the aim at the longest gold medal streak at the Olympics. No other country has been able to do that in archery.
No, but no other country has been able to do a clean sweep at the Olympic Games in archery. When you talk about archery, especially in the women's discipline, you talk about South Korea. They are spoiled for quality. They have a lot of quality. Every one athlete in that their archery contingent is a world star. They are world stars littered all around. And once again, another world record shattered. A record that stood for 25 years shattered already. And this is not even, it wasn't even a proper event at the Olympics. It's just like a pre-games event. It's like a qualifier, a test event, a training event. And they're already showing the quality that they have. When you have so much quality that you break a 25-year-old world record in your practice, what do we now expect when it comes to the medal events?
I talk about breaking record. San topped the field with 20-year-old shooting, the 20-year shooting as many as 680 points to beat record set at the 1996 Olympics in Atlanta. South Korea's female archers hold all the Olympic records and have won every team gold since the first in 1988. And if they win their 9th gold medal in the women's event in Tokyo, that will tie the longest gold medal streak in all sports at the Olympic Games, that is 125 years.
Talking about dominance, they've won all team gold since 1988. And I think it's not going to stop there. With the performance that they have shown in just this first practice, I think they're going to win it and tie that record. And then maybe in 2024, if they still have that quality about them, if no country is strong enough to challenge them for that, I think they're going to break that record. But what an astonishing record. Winning all team gold since 1988.
It's the official opening ceremony that is ongoing right now at the Tokyo National Stadium. And just before that opening ceremony, one man that will be watching from television and not at that stadium is the director of organizing committee, because only yesterday he was fired for making a Holocaust joke during a comedy show way back in 1998.
Japan are a country with their own fair share of tragedy. We remember the atomic bombing in Fukushima. We remember the nuclear reactor tragedy in Fukushima as well. And for somebody from Japan who knows what it means to, a country that knows what it means to go through tragedy, to make a joke about the Holocaust when the Jews suffered in the hands of the German Nazis, it was really insensitive.
That Holocaust had to do with, disabilities, those that were disabled at that point in time. And that is what the message the IOC is trying to send across, that everybody should be seen as the same and not taken advantage of because you are disabled. Then you could just be crushed and sent to your early grave. Indeed,
everybody is the same, and that's what the IOC has done by staging the Paralympic Games alongside the Olympic Games. It tells us that even with the disabilities, there's a place for you in society, in sports, in society at large. And it was really insensitive, and if I should use a harsh word, I think it was stupid from the organizer, the director of the opening ceremony. Good thing he's lost his job. It's not good whenever somebody loses his job, but for this one, I think it's what he deserved. I think it's the least of what he deserved, actually, because when you make jokes about such sensitive matters, then you're calling for some sanctions, and he's been rightly met with some.
I'm talking about sanctions. Earlier this week, composer of the music that is being used at the opening ceremony that is ongoing now, Kiego Oyamada, equally was forced to resign because of past bullying of his classmates. This looks very interesting. If you bully a classmate, you have to check your records, because for Oyamada, he's been recorded as someone who bullied his classmates, and now he's had to resign his job.
And not just bullying
his job. Yeah. This part of his music is being completely taken off.
And not just bullying his classmates. When you bully somebody, it's bad in its own. But when you go to interviews and boast about bullying somebody, then I think that's way over the line, and that's why he's lost his job. He admitted to bullying his classmates and boasted about it during interviews with some magazine companies, and it was not the best choice. It's not the best thing to do. He's lost his job. This just tells us that we need to be careful. We need to be careful about the things that we do and say to people. We need to treat people equally. We need to treat people fairly. We need to be inclusive. We need to be tolerant to everybody, because the things that you do now, as we've seen evidently in this case, it will definitely catch up with you.
talking about things people do that will catch up with you. For sexist remarks, Yoshiro Mori, the organizing committee president, had actually had to resign from his position as well earlier on.
Yeah, earlier on, I think that was earlier this year, where he resigned from his post. He made a sexist remark to one of his colleagues, one of the people working in the organizing committee, and then he had to resign because he faced a lot of pressure. This is 2021. It's a gender-inclusive world. It's a very sensitive world. There are things you'd say in, say, 1970 or 1887 and go away with it, but now you can't just do that and go scot-free.
Talking about what you say, the creative director for the opening and closing ceremony would not be there. The opening ceremony is ongoing, and he will not be there. Equally, he will not be there at the closing ceremony because he actually suggested a Japanese actor should dress as a pig, and that is gone down now to haunt him because he has had to step down as creative director for the closing and the opening ceremony.
It's very awful, and it's a good thing that we're seeing reprimands, we're seeing repercussions for these kind of actions, because people do it. Most people do it with the notion that they're just talking, and whatever they do, they can go away with it. But now we're beginning to understand, little by little, that you cannot go away with it because we have the internet now, and the internet does not forget. The things that you say and do, they will be recorded and they will be used against you eventually. So I think it's awful for him to make such a derogatory comment, derogatory to the highest level, and he has been rightly punished. Good thing that he has resigned.
Good thing that he has had to resign. And one other spectacle about the Olympic Games is doping. The World Anti-Doping Agency, WADA, will be forced to watch as Russian athletes don uniforms in their country's colors of red, white, blue, and compete at the Tokyo Olympic Games, having received substance sanctions over the nation's doping scandal. Remember, the entire Russian team had to be sanctioned last time.
They've been sanctioned, and they still will not compete. There will not be any Russian nation. There will not be any nation called Russia at the Olympic Games. But Russian athletes are allowed to compete as non-Russian federation. So it will be a bitter sight for the World Anti-Doping Agency, because we know how strict they are with their sanctions. Left for the World Anti-Doping Agency, Russia will not compete in any sports whatsoever in the foreseeable future. But the athletes, they took their case to the Court of Arbitration for Sports, and the sanctions were softened. They can now compete at the Olympic Games, and not just compete, they will be filing out alongside the other countries during the parade, in the ongoing opening ceremony. They will not carry the Russian flag, but they will dress in the red, white, and blue of Russia, and that should be a disturbing sight for the WADA official.
I'm very sure that if you're Russian and you hear WADA, you have to be worried. And it has to do with the fact that originally Russia was banned from the top world sporting events for 4 years. Remember, in December 2019. But the sanctions were halved late last year by the Court of Arbitration for Sports, in a clear victory for the Russian side, if you ask me. But I'm very sure the Russians are very, very worried about the name WADA. But while the Russians are still not allowed to compete under their own flag, they can now, wear their in-color uniforms with the logo of the Russian Olympic Committee and the letters of ROC on them, instead of the neutral ones initially imposed by WADA. And many Russian athletes were sidelined from the past two Olympics, and of course, this time around, at least we can still have some in spite of the punishment. We can still have some in spite of the punishment. Some of these athletes that will be at the Olympic Games were not actually involved in the doping scandal, but because you are representing a country that has been banned because of doping, then the sanctions have to apply to you as well. So that's why it's a victory for the athletes, especially those ones that were not part of the doping program. But then a lot of scrutiny still falls on them. They are being checked, like you said. If you're Russian and you hear about WADA, it's almost, even if you're not a user of banned substance, you start feeling guilty, you start feeling worried about WADA because of the history between Russia and WADA. Good thing for the athletes, they will be allowed to compete. Let's just hope that after the Tokyo 2020 Games, or even within the Games, we don't get doping reports from involving Russian athletes. Well, we still bring you reports and tidbits around the Tokyo Olympic Games. We told you a couple of minutes ago the official opening ceremony got underway at the Tokyo National Stadium, and it's been such a spectacle to watch. But these days, sports and technology go hand in hand. With Tokyo expecting about 90+ degree temperatures, that it's looking very, very difficult for some of the athletes, because Team USA flag bearers will wear special jackets designed with cooling systems at the Olympics and Paralympics opening ceremony. It's sports and technology now being married now.
sports and technology. We've seen technology play a key role in sports. In football lovers will remember the video assistant referee, VAR, one piece of technology that has helped improve your officiating. In my own words, it has helped improve the officiating in sports. But it's not just on the field of play. We're seeing technology coming to partner with sports now. Off the field, in terms of the attires, we are seeing technology being infused into the American team's jackets. It is summer in Japan, and summer in Japan is very humid. There have been reports where games had to be stopped for cooling breaks, for water breaks, so that the athletes do not suffer from dehydration. This will be happening in the parade. And the Americans, of course, we know they're a wealthy nation, and amongst the front runners when it comes to technology, they are putting their technology on display, wearing those cooling vests. I think it's a really cool thing, if I use that word, for the Americans. We'll see it on display, and it shows the role that technology has in global advancement.
The parade uniforms were unveiled last week, including a wide denim jacket that will temperatures in the South Korea. And now Team USA's parade uniform will also include woolen navy blue blazers, coordinating shoes, masks made from cotton, and strip belts. It's like the entire apparel that you need to use while you're in Tokyo has been customized into use the words of my young son.
Yeah, that's we know they like to put themselves in front. The Americans, they like to take pride in their abilities, and this will be one other thing to be proud of if you are an American, and especially if you're an American athlete. You can just show off a bit to your other counterparts. So while they're sweating and probably using their hand fans, you're cool. You're cool from top to bottom. Your jackets, your pants, and your shoes, all customized with cooling technology. In 2018, it was the reverse. It was the heating technology because it was so cold in South Korea, in Pyeongchang. But now in Japan, where it's hot in the summer, they've reversed that to make it cool.
And talking about the Americans, putting a lot of technology into the Olympic Games for 2020, and you wonder why. This is the reason why. A Russian archer fainted in the Tokyo heat during a qualifying Olympic round on Friday as a heat wave pushed coaches and staff to huddle under trees for shade. Svtlana Kubovaeva collapsed as she checked her final scores and required assistance from staff and teammates who put bags of ice on her head to cool her down. You don't need all of that ice, you need the jacket, right? Yeah,
you just need the jacket from there. But unfortunately for her, it's just the Americans that will be displaying that. Maybe there could be some... We know that there's not the best of relations between America and Russia, so it could be difficult to get her hands on those cooling jackets. But thankfully for her, she was revived. After she collapsed, she was revived by the medics there, and she had to be taken off the field to recover properly. The sun is really scorching in Japan, and with all the restrictions due to COVID, a lot of activities going on, you burn out a lot of gas and you lose a lot of hydration. You get dehydrated very quickly, and it could be fatal in some cases. Thankfully, in her case, it wasn't.
With temperature expected to peak around 33 degrees Celsius in the Archery Dome on the first day of the competition, athletes have challenges with hydration, cool, as well as those posed by the COVID-19 pandemic. We hope, and like Mary did mention there, that Kubovaeva quickly regain her consciousness, and we're hoping that she'll be back to the event as we compete at the Tokyo Olympic Games. We'll take a short break. When we come back, we'll bring you more developments around the Tokyo Olympic Games. Like I told you, the opening ceremony is ongoing at about now. When you talk of sports, and this is the biggest sporting event around the world, then often you must hear a whole lot of stories about doping, because sports and doping seem to go hand in hand of recent. Brazilian weightlifter Natasha Rosa Figueiredo was cleared on Thursday to compete at the Tokyo Olympics after having served a suspension following a minor anti-doping rule violation. The court of appeal actually stepped in to assist in this one.
It's sad when an athlete engages in the use of drugs, for performance-enhancing drugs, to better her counterparts. But it's a good thing for Natasha that she has completely served her suspension. And I wouldn't say it's a good thing, but that's why the IOC and the World Anti-Doping Agency has come up with a 10-month plan that says within 10 months to a major event, you need to complete your 3 doping checks on time. She's been able to participate at the Olympic Games because she completed her 3 tests on time. Out of those 3 tests, she tested positive twice for banned substance, and then she was suspended. But thankfully, it was early enough. The suspension came into force early enough, and she had finished serving that suspension before her event at the Olympic Games, and that's why she's been cleared to compete. She will still be checked before competing at the Olympic Games, just to make sure that she has not engaged in it after the last positive test.
Natasha, 25-year-old Brazilian who is due to compete on Saturday in the 49 category, had tested positive twice this year for a banned substance, and further analysis showed food supplement consumed regularly by her revealed the presence of hydrochlorothiazide, despite the supplement's label containing no reference at all to prohibited substance. She had already served a provisional suspension longer than 1 month, like Mary did mention there, and we hope that she will have learned a lesson. Like I said, when it comes to sports, and this is the biggest sporting event around the world, you always will hear stories about doping. In this instance, former European 400 meters hurdles champion Karim Hussein is out of the Tokyo Olympics after the Swiss athlete was given a 9-month doping suspension.
Yeah. Definitely out of the Olympic Games, 9 months doping suspension. And some people start to ask why some people are given 1 month and why some people are given for as much as 9 months, and some people are banned for life. It depends on the history of the athlete, how many times the athlete has been caught with engaging in the use of banned substances. It depends on if it was intentional or unintentional, because we hear in some instances where athletes say, we didn't know. We got this food supplement and we didn't know it contained a banned substance. So for those, the sanctions are relatively easier. They go easy on those athletes, especially if you're a first-time offender. But if you have a history of using banned substance, which Hussein has, it becomes a stiffer punishment, and a 9-month punishment for him is what he got this time around.
The 32-year-old, a surprise winner of the European title, we remember, on home soil in 2014, but now expected to be a medal prospect in Tokyo, tested positive for a banned stimulant earlier this month. And Mary told you there that the number of months you get for the sanctions, it depends on the number of times you have been caught, and of course warned as well. So I think he will learn his lessons. When you prepare for the Olympics and you don't take part of it, it will be that which you learn. Hussein definitely has to learn from this experience, and we'll still bring you more developments around the Olympic Games, because it is the biggest sporting event around the world. And after one teammate also tested positive to the use of banned substance, Australia's Olympic equestrian team were relieved on Friday after show jumpers Edwina Tops Alexander and Kathy Lorre were allowed to compete as individuals after their teammate Jamie Kamau tested positive for cocaine use. This is looking more serious. It's more serious.
He was found to have tested positive for cocaine use, and he was effectively banned from the tournament. In the equestrian events, most times they go as a team. So you have the option of competing as a team, and you also have events for single athletes to perform in their individual events. The Australians will not be performing as a team because one team member, which is Kermond, in this case, Jamie Kermond, has tested positive to cocaine, which is a serious offense. We wait to see the official ruling from WADA, how long his ban is going to last, but definitely he will not be taking part at the Tokyo 2020 Olympic Games. So there was a little bit of concern for his other team members. They felt because one member of the team had been compromised, it would have affected them from not competing. Yes, it has actually affected them. They will not compete in the team events, which means Australia will miss out in the team events. But as individual athletes, because they are in the all clear, they do not have any history of using banned substance, they will compete individually for medals of their own at the Tokyo 2020 Olympic Games.
Well, it's looking very disturbing there, but like I mentioned to you, you really have to ensure that you do not taint your system with whatever that is completely been banned. And as the game officially opens today, like I told you, ceremony is on. Tennis stories, we've seen tennis stars, established tennis stars in action. Andy Murray faces a top start to the defense of his Olympic title after being drawn against 9-seed Felix Auger-Aliassime.
Felix Auger-Aliassime, the exciting thing about this draw is Andy Murray, we know about his history after returning from that gruesome hip injury, underwent a hip surgery, and we thought he wasn't going to play active tennis again. Thankfully for him, and gladly for a lot of tennis lovers all over the world, we're seeing Andy Murray compete, but he's coming up against a tough nut to crack. Felix Auger-Aliassime has some bit of history with Andy Murray. The last time they met, Felix defeated Andy Murray quite easily.
If you ask me, Andy Murray looks like the face of the Olympics. Yeah, he's the only tennis player to win back-to-back single gold medals, having triumphed in I think in London when they did host, and of course thereafter in Brazil.
And when you look at that was when Andy Murray was Andy Murray would like to remember. At some point he was contesting for the world #1 spots with the likes of Rafael Nadal and Roger Federer. He won several Grand Slams during his heyday. He went to the Olympic Games, and when you understand that the Olympic Games had all these stars, Rafael Nadal, Novak Djokovic, Roger Federer, and Andy Murray won back-to-back, one in 2012 on home soil in London, one in 2016, and Roger Federer has never won Olympic gold. You know the quality of Andy Murray back then. But unfortunately for him, after that injury in 2018, he went for the surgery, came back in 2019, participated in some couple of games in 2020 and 2021. It's never been the same. When you have such a life-threatening injury, it's never been the same. And we just, should I say, for the sake of his lovers, for the sake of sport, we hope that he has enough in him this time around when he faces Felix.
So much on the Olympic Games that has his opening ceremony underway at the Tokyo National Stadium. Now let's talk some football. Nigerian Women Football League Premiership champions, that's Rivers Angels of Port Harcourt, Nigeria, are now safely in Abidjan, Cote d'Ivoire for their WAFU B zonal qualifiers for the CAF Women Champions League.
Good news, they are safe. They left here safely and they've landed in Abidjan safely. They've gone to the hotel room. They are trying to get things in order for their first preparations, their first training sessions. It's a cheering news. They have finally gone to the location for their qualifiers. It's a big deal, really. The first of its kind, the first time we'll be having the CAF Women's Champions League here in Africa. So it's a big deal.
Matches start tomorrow. We understand they are in the same group with the Hasakas Ladies of Ghana and the AS Police of Niamey, Niger Republic.
The fixtures start tomorrow. It was built to have started earlier, but it was shifted back by 1 week. It was supposed to start on the 17th of July, but it was shifted back by 1 week and will now start tomorrow, 24th of July 2021.
When you talk about CAF, the CAF Confederation of African Football has announced the date for the draw of the delayed 2021 African Cup of Nations to be hosted in Cameroon from January 2020. We understand the draw day was initially fixed for the 25th of June in Yaoundé, but was postponed due to some logistic reasons. And the football body right now is saying that it will now be 15th of August 2021 and as a new date for the draw. Let's hope that the Nigerian Super Eagles will be given a favorable group, because we understand there will be 6 groups of 4 teams each, because this time around 24 countries will be participating in the competition.
Mirroring what we've seen in Europe, we saw it in Europe in 2016 and we saw it in 2020, and it proved to be a good decision from the European, from UEFA to have 24 teams, because we saw more goals at the tournament, we saw more interesting fixtures, and I expect we are going to see the same thing at the CAF Nations Cup in January 2022 in Cameroon. 24
countries, in fact 23, looking forward to toppling the team from Algeria. That's the Algerian national. They are the defending champions. We'll see how that one pans out in the days ahead. We'll report that for you here on our program, Sports Extraordinary. But let's go to Europe, where Christian Eriksen is in the news, and it doesn't look very good, because his club side, Inter Milan, are of the opinion that he will not be registered for this season because of the defiltrator that he has on him.
It's still a day-by-day case. We know he's recovering. He has been recovering ever since that tragedy, or should I say almost very tragic event at the Parkland Stadium in the first opening fixture for Denmark at the Euro 2020. He had a defibrillator implanted in him, and by the rules, the medical professionals in Italy, they say you cannot play professional sports having an implant inside your body. And that's the
talking
issue.
About what the rule says in Italy, we understand that a specialist can only will have to check you, get it removed, and of course ensure that you are physically well before you can play again. And for now, he still has the defibrillator on him, and so he will not be registered or permitted to play professional football in Italy. And of course, you remember he collapsed sometime in June when they had that match against Finland. But we hope that life is more important, and he had to be cautious step by step before he will be allowed or given the all clear to play football again. In South America, 6 Boca Juniors players and officials have been charged as they clashed with the police following that Copa Libertadores exit to Atlético Mineiro of Brazil.
Boca Juniors, one of the most vicious set of supporters when it comes to fan violence in world football. there is no other occasion for you to see how bad it gets than for when we have the local derby in Argentina, Boca Juniors versus River Plate. This time around, they've taken that behavior out of Argentina to Brazil against Atletico Mineiro. They have reason to feel aggrieved because they scored 2 goals in that encounter, a goal at peace, a goal at home and a goal away from home, and both goals were disallowed by VAR. They've been effectively knocked out of the competition, and so they felt they were hard done by the officiating, they were hard done by the officials, and they resorted to some sort of violence in the game, outside the stadium as well, and a lot of them has been arrested, a lot of them have paid some fines, and the club has been put under serious scrutiny.
Well, time for us to begin to wrap up on the show, but we won't do that except we'll bring you some transfer stories around club sides in Europe. Everton have signed Bayern Leverkusen winger Demarai Gray on a 3-year deal worth about £1.7 million. 25-year-old getting that much?
And it's to see that he's going for just 1.5. This is a player that when Leicester City won the league in 2016, he was one of the bright sparks. And the years following, he was still one of the bright sparks at Leicester City. A very good winger, very quick, very swift, diminutive player, if you ask me. And we thought he was primed for great things, but only for him to return from injury and lose his spark. He was sent to Bayer Leverkusen, and Bayer Leverkusen feel that they could do without him now, sending him back to the Premiership. It's a good thing for him. Hopefully, he can improve. Hopefully, he can hit top form. It's good to see him back playing in the Premier League.
Good decision coming from the manager of Everton.
We
have Townsend.
Townsend, Begovic.
As well.
Yeah, they're beefing up their squad. You know, they got a new manager, and whenever you get a new manager, he tries to look at the team, what he has at his disposal, look for ways to improve his team, look for players that fit into his plan. And I think he feels the very experienced manager, Rafa Benitez, feels like Demarai Gray could give him some good options.
And finally, we want to bring you the one that delights a lot of Nigerians. Nigerian captain of the Super Eagles, Ahmed Musa, has completed a move to the Turkish Super League outfit, Fatih Garamoruk. And remember, Musa, he actually joined as a free agent. He had been having some practices, fitness sections with the Kano Pillars here in Nigeria.
Fitness sessions, that's the best way to put it. It's carried in the news that he joined Kano Pillars, but we didn't see him play in a lot of fixtures for Kano Pillars. He did play, but not in a lot of fixtures. It was probably for his own best interest, just to keep fit, to keep open that option of being selected for the Super Eagles, and also look for, while he looks for a better club. He's gotten that deal now. He's going over to Turkey. We've seen a couple of Nigerian players in Turkey. We hope that he will do as well as they've done, because we've had Nigerians who have won the league title in Turkey on several occasions. This is a very experienced player, our highest goal scorer in our World Cup history, our captain of the Super Eagles team. So we wish him well on his voyage to Turkey.
Ahmed Musa, the captain of Super Eagles of Nigeria, having a new club side, and he's our sports extraordinaire for today. He's actually had experience with VV Venlo, in the Dutch league, and he's had a couple of appearances as well for the Russian side, CSK Moscow, and he played in the Premiership in England as well. Remember, he played for Leicester City. And so he is our sports extraordinaire for today.
He's our sports extraordinaire for today. You've heard it, Ahmed Musa. He's had some sort of a glowing career. He's played over 100 matches for the Super Eagles of Nigeria, and he scored a lot of goals. I think on our all-time goal scorer chart, he ranks in the top 5. He's our highest goal scorer at the FIFA World Cup. No player from the Super Eagles of Nigeria has scored up to 4 goals at the FIFA World Cup except Ahmed Musa. Remember, he scored 2 against Iceland. That picture on your screen at the Russia 2018 World Cup, 2 spectacular goals against Russia. He's our sports extraordinaire for today.
Well, I think that's it for today. It's time for us now to go follow up with the opening ceremony of the Tokyo 2020 Olympic Games, where we are seeing 193 United Nations member countries and 9 dependent territories. There are not just countries that are in the Olympic. They have 9 dependent territories. So we'll keep an eye and see how all of them file out during that match pass, and of course represent their respective countries and territories at the Olympic Games. Thanks for joining us. You can as well follow us on our social media handle. Facebook and YouTube is at Atlantic Television Network. On our Instagram as well, which is at Atlantic TV Network. Stay with us and enjoy the rest of your day.